But the first one we're going to sign is with Kenya. And the reason why is twofold. Number one, because of our close partnership. Number two, because they have stable and strong institutions, both in government and in the healthcare sector. And over the next few years, we're going to be investing $1.6 billion in health assistance over the next 5 years. And you'll see how that program works out. But the investment is in combination.
We might actually be the first country to conclude a bilateral trade agreement with the United States. Again. Forget about what we have already done on health. We might be the first ones to also complete our bilateral trade agreement with the US. I am very proud of the relationship that we have with the government of the United States. It's a solid relationship. Many would want to ask, what is their interest in our country? Every country.
This petition that has been filed, one by Consumers Federation of Kenya and another by myself, seeking to stop the so-called the framework agreement, the cooperation framework agreement between Kenya and the United States on health. Now, this particular issue, at the heart of this whole thing, is what happened in this country on 27th of August 2010. When we got the new constitution of Kenya, and there was a major shift. In the old constitution, executive sovereign power resided in the president. In the new constitution, sovereign power resides in the people. At the heart of this petition is the question, to whom does health data belong? And the answer emphatically is that they belong to each individual. And if health data has to be harvested for any reason to be shared beyond the medical facility, there needs to be a proper mechanism where every individual gives their consent to have their data shared. We are not subjects, we are citizens. We are not subjects of the president. We are citizens of the Republic of Kenya, and our data belongs to each one of us individually. So at that point alone, I thought that what was done in Washington was totally bad. Number two, when you look at the contract, if I can remember some parts of the agreement, you find that Article 19 claims it is not a treaty. But if you look at the obligations in there, they bind the government. That's a very, very deceptive attempt to put this agreement outside the framework of the Constitution. You know very well that Articles 2, Clause 6 say that any treaty ratified by Kenya is part of the Kenyan law. And that 2 Clause 5 says that instruments of international law will apply, principles of international law will apply to Kenya. But when you say it is not a treaty, it's outside that arrangement, then what are we dealing with? How can the government purport to act outside the purview of the law or the Constitution and other statutes? Then if you go to Article 5, Section 5, Clause 7 of the same agreement, it says something to the effect that Kenyan law is expected to apply. Doesn't say Kenyan law will apply. They say Kenyan law is expected to apply. Why should Kenyan law be expected to apply and not just to apply? Basically, the agreement has been drafted in a manner that it's put outside the framework of the law. And whoever did that intentionally, because he knows that the contents of the agreement, if implemented, have major impact on the Constitution. It contravenes the Constitution in extreme ways. For example, health is a devolved function. There's been no involvement of the Senate, no involvement of the other organs. You go ahead, you find that when you look at the question of Chapter 12, public finance, there are major agreements on finances, committing the Kenyan government to pay, I think it's 10, then 20, then I think 30, 40, then 50 billion shillings over that period of year incrementally, who has appropriated that money? Why is the government going to get that money? You go further, you find that there are thousands of employees, the people who are going to be recruited to work under this arrangement. And then in 2028, when the arrangement expires, they are supposed to transfer to the government. Where is the Public Service Commission? How do we get sure of that? Or where are the commission, the Council of Governors, who are supposed to take on these people? So we cannot just do things that like there's no procedure. You go back to issues of sovereignty of this republic, you find that the instrument is couched in a language that makes Kenya a client state of the United States of America.
So, ladies and gentlemen, according to the statement that we have begun this video with, is a statement that was today delivered by the Busia Senator OKIYAH OMTATAH after winning a petition that was actually filed at the High Court of Kenya, stopping a deal that was recently signed between the President of the Republic of Kenya, President William RUTO, and the United States government. Now, the said held the deal gave the US government access to Kenyans' medical data, something that saw a lot of Kenyans raise questions on how on the safety of their personal medical data that has actually been collected by different medical facilities in the country. OKIYAH OMTATAH raising that question and actually filing that petition so Kenyans actually get relief. And the High Court of Kenya today served a big blow to William RUTO. Remember, William RUTO signed that deal, making Kenya the first country to enter into the said deal with the government of the United States. Now, you might ask yourself this question. Why did the United States actually prefer Kenya to be the first country to sign the said deal with the United States? Allow me to explain something to you before getting to the recent sentiments that were made by different advocates in the Republic of Kenya who have actually reviewed, or even senior counsels who have actually reviewed the said deal and the terms that the United States gave to Kenya for it to sign the said deal. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya was the first country to sign this deal. But the question that you might be asking yourself, why Kenya? Is this a privilege? Is the United States putting Kenya on the map by actually making it the first country to sign the said held the deal? Let me tell you. You all know Kenya is one of the greatest, is among the top 5 greatest countries that we have in Africa. And it acts as the entrance of the West or even the European into the continent of Africa. Why am I saying so? In the past, the United States actually made deals or signed those deals first with countries like South Africa or Nigeria. But now, President Donald Trump of the United States is actually in a certain fight with the government of South Africa, because South Africa actually went ahead to kick out the white settlers that were still remaining in control of South Africa and those that had continued to occupy the lands of South Africa even after South Africa gained its own independence. So Trump has been fighting with South Africa, calling out South Africa as a country that is actually marginalizing the white community or the Europeans and Americans that are actually residing in South Africa. Apart from South Africa having these, falling diplomatic ties with America, that is one of the reasons that made America not to consider signing this deal with South Africa first. Now, on the other hand, in Nigeria, Donald Trump recently gave a warning through his social media handles to the government of Nigeria for failing to protect Christians in Nigeria, where he claimed that if the government of Nigeria is not going to take action against some certain terrorists that had started killing Christians, then he will declare war on Nigeria, and he will actually sanction an operation in Nigeria that will see the elimination of the group that has been killing Christians. So his relationship with Nigeria is also flawed. The only country that remains as the top entrance now in the continent of Africa is Kenya. And Kenya is a country that is actually now at the verge of trying to impress the West in any move that it gets. President William Ruto is a man that knows that he has a lot of skeletons in his cabinet. And so for him to avoid the United States continuing to dig deep into him, because in the recent past, there was a sanctioned investigation against the President of the Republic of Kenya for his involvement with the Somalian militia Al-Shabaab. Are we together? So President William Ruto did not even allow the said bill that was brought to him, or the said deal that was brought to him by the government of the United States, go through the right channels, like being reviewed in the Parliament of Kenya, or even involving the public in a public participation forum to see whether this deal or this signed bill would be in benefit of the people of the Republic of Kenya. So he went ahead to rush into signing the said deal. Remember, he was invited by President Donald Trump in the United States to oversee the signing of the Congo-Rwanda peace deal. So he used that chance to go ahead and sign the said deal. This deal that was signed, according to the intel that we have received so far and collected and analyzed, it actually gives the government of the United States direct access to the Kenyan medical data. Not only medical data, it allows the United States to collect specimens from Kenya so that it can conduct research or experiments in America to actually create certain drugs or treatment for some certain diseases. But what is Kenya getting out of it? Or what are the people of the Republic of Kenya, how are the people of the Republic of Kenya going to benefit directly from this deal? I tell you, there is no way Kenya is benefiting. The only thing that happened is that Ruto was given 208 billion and he rushed to signing the deal. And after Ruto signing the deal, it is so the next country to sign the said bill was Liberia. Because now Kenya has signed, most of the countries in Africa will follow suit. Because Ruto, in the recent past, he has fronted himself as the voice of the continent of Africa. But now, allow me to actually look into it through the eyes of Senior Counsel Paul MUITE. Paul MUITE recently commended the Consumers Federation of Kenya, CONFEC, for suing President William Ruto's cabinet secretaries Musalia Mudavadi and Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale over the 208 billion US Kenya deal. Now, according to reports, President William Ruto signed the deal with the United States of America during his meeting with US President Donald Trump. CONFEC moved to court seeking to challenge the deal, and actually today they acquired a conservatory order. They stated that it violated the Constitution, the health law, and was allegedly done in secret. The deal is expected to allow the United States to acquire sensitive health reports from Kenya sparking concerns over data privacy and sovereignty. Now, on December 10th, 2025, MUITE emphasized that Kenyans are sovereign and their data and constitutional rights must be respected. Meanwhile, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi called on Kenyans to embrace change, alleging that some politicians have been attacking the government without justification. But what other justification does the government of Kenya need, or the people of Kenya need, than to know that their data is being exploited at the cost to benefit the president and his allies? Now, Paul Mwite believes that Musalia Mudavadi believes that William Ruto deserves a second chance to transform Kenya. Allow me to read what Paul Mwite had to say. Well done, Confec, for challenging this atrocious and one-sided MOU between President Trump and Ruto in court. Our constitution is supreme. The people of Kenya are sovereign. Privacy and data protection are constitutional rights. Akatag Standard Kenya na akatag Confec Kenya. Now, that deal, President William Ruto signed the said deal because he wanted to be on the good graces of the government of the United States. Remember, even him speaking, he said that there was another deal that was also going to be signed between the government of Kenya and the United States, apart from this, the deal that was signed. Now, why all of a sudden that America is interested in signing deals with Kenya? No, America is not interested in signing deals with Kenya. America is interested in conducting experiments through Africans. Are we together? Now, if an African president is vulnerable and needs the approval of the West like the United States, he will have no question. He will not question anything that is brought to him by the government of the United States. And that is what William Ruto did. He did not allow any public participation nor the parliament actually reviewing the said deal. He did not involve anybody else except him, Musalia Mudavadi, and Aden Duale. So they signed the deal. I don't know whether they were representing themselves or they were representing Kenyans. Because if you are representing Kenya, you are supposed to involve Kenyans in the said deal. Kenyans were supposed to know about it. Are we together? And that is why now we have come to understand what William Ruto did. It was for him to actually impress America, for America to stop actually digging into him and to actually continue offering help and support, giving loans, public debt, signing on Ruto's public debt to President William Ruto. Are we together? You know, President William Ruto has a lot of things that he is being questioned about and he has been being investigated about. One of them even being the allegations that were brought forward by the United Nations against the Kenyan President William Ruto for actually funding or supplying weaponry to the Sudanese militia, RSF. So how does William Ruto, maneuver through such handles and to actually recuse himself from the investigations and fingers being pointed at him as the facilitator of the war in Sudan? It is by William Ruto actually accepting anything that is thrown on his side by the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a president who cares about how much he will pocket, not about how he will protect you as a nation. I would love to hear your sentiment in regards to this, but we are happy at least the High Court of Kenya issued a conservatory order today after the petition filed by OKIYAH OMTATAH and Confec Federation to stop the said US-Kenya the deal from being implemented in Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, leave your comment on the comment section. See you in our next video. This is the Kenyan Daily Report.